When my cousin tricked me out of my late aunt's house, I discovered a devastating secret that could ruin his whole life, and I wasn't afraid to use it. My name is Ethan Walsh. I'm 38 years old, and up until last year, I thought my family drama was nothing more than the occasional awkward holiday dinner. I was wrong. It all started on a rainy Thursday evening in October. I was sitting at my kitchen table in Philadelphia, sipping coffee and scrolling through some emails when my phone lit up with an unknown number. "Ethan, it's Margaret," the voice said, my mother's older sister. She sounded out of breath. "It's your Aunt Lorraine. She passed away this morning." I froze. Aunt Lorraine was complicated. Childless, sharp-tongued, but with a soft spot for me ever since I helped her move house when I was 21. We hadn't spoken much lately, but still the news hit me hard. Margaret went on, "The will reading is next week. Come to her old house on Walnut Street at noon. Everyone will be there." When I showed up the following Wednesday, the place was exactly as I remembered. The heavy scent of lavender, lace curtains yellowed by time, the squeak in the third floorboard near the fireplace. My cousin Ryan was already there, leaning against the mantelpiece in a navy suit that probably cost more than my car. Ryan and I had never gotten along. He always had a smug smile like he knew something you didn't. The lawyer, a balding man named Mr. Collins, read through the formalities before getting to the good part. To my nephew, Ethan Walsh, I bequeath my property at 614 Walnut Street, including all contents therein. My jaw almost dropped. That Victorian house was easily worth $450,000. Ryan's smirk vanished for the first time all day. But then, and I swear I'm not imagining this, I saw Ryan glance at Margaret, and she gave him the tiniest nod. 3 days later, I got a call from Mr. Collins. His tone was different. Apologetic. "Ethan, there's been an issue. A later version of the will has come to light. In it, the house goes to your cousin Ryan." "What?" My grip tightened on the phone. "That's impossible. Aunt Lorraine told me she hadn't changed her will in years." "I'm sorry," he said, "but this newer document appears valid. It's dated just 2 months ago." The smell of lavender from Lorraine's house suddenly came back to me, and with it, a strange memory. 2 months ago, Margaret had mentioned in passing that Ryan had been helping Lorraine with her finances. Something in my gut twisted. I didn't know it yet, but I was about to uncover the kind of family secret that blows everything apart. I couldn't let it go. The morning after that call, I drove to Margaret's place in Cherry Hill. Her house was all white wicker furniture and overpowering rose air freshener. She opened the door wearing pearls and a cardigan, her expression already sour. "Ethan, you shouldn't be here," she said, blocking the doorway. "I just want to understand," I replied, trying to keep my voice calm. "How did a new will appear out of nowhere?" She gave a tight smile. "Lorraine was unpredictable. She changed her mind. Ryan was there for her. You weren't." That's done, but it was the lie in her tone that got me. I could hear the too polished delivery, the avoidance of eye contact. I left without pushing further, but my next stop was Aunt Lorraine's old neighbour, Miss S. Green. She was in her late 70s, sharp as ever, and had a knack for knowing everyone's business. 2 months ago, she said, shaking her head. Ryan started coming by a lot then, always in a hurry. Once, I saw him leaving with a folder and Lorraine looking upset. By that point, the pieces were clicking together, but I needed proof. That night, I dug through my old emails and found a chain from Lorraine about her finances. One stood out, dated just 3 months ago. She wrote, "I trust you more than anyone else in this family, Ethan. I want you to have the house so you'll always have a place here." The next day, I confronted Ryan in a Center City cafe. He was sitting at the corner table, sipping an espresso like he owned the place. "Cut the act," I said, sliding into the seat opposite him. "You forged that will." Ryan didn't even flinch. "Careful with accusations you can't prove." His voice was smooth, but his foot tapped under the table. "You don't deserve that house," I shot back. "Lorraine never would have." He leaned in, lowering his voice. "Deserve, Ethan? It's not about deserve, it's about winning, and I win." I wanted to lunge across the table, but instead I stood up and left though not before noticing the black leather briefcase at his feet. The initials embossed on it weren't his. They were L.W., but Lorraine Walsh. 2 days later, while walking past the old house on Walnut Street, I saw something that stopped me cold. Through the front window, Ryan was carrying boxes into the study, and one of them was the same leather briefcase. If he'd kept Lorraine's papers, the real will might still be inside. I just needed a way to get in. It was Saturday night, the kind of cold autumn evening where the air bites your cheeks and the streetlights make the wet pavement shimmer. I parked 2 blocks away from Lorraine's house, hood pulled low, hands buried deep in my coat pockets. Ryan's BMW was in the driveway. A dim light glowed from the study window. Perfect. I wasn't breaking in, not yet. I had another idea. I pulled out my phone and texted Melissa, an old friend who worked as a locksmith. Hypothetically, how hard would it be to open a 1950s year lock without a key? She called me right away. Hypothetically, it depends. Why? I told her enough to make it sound like I was retrieving my own documents from a relative's place. She laughed. "You always get into the weirdest situations. I'll swing by tomorrow afternoon, hypothetically." The next day, I hung back across the street until I saw Ryan's car pull out. Melissa showed up 10 minutes later in a beat-up grey van, toolbox in hand. 5 minutes, she whispered. And sure enough, in less than that, the door clicked open. Inside, the house felt like stepping into a memory of the same velvet armchairs, the faint smell of dust and lavender. We headed straight for the study. The briefcase was sitting right there on the desk, locked. Melissa arched an eyebrow. Want me to? Please. 2 minutes later, it popped open. Inside, stacks of papers, envelopes, a silver pen set, and a thin manila folder marked Will of Final. My pulse pounded as I opened it. It was exactly what I'd hoped for: Lorraine's signature, dated 3 years ago, naming me as the sole heir to the house. The document was notarized, stamped, and in perfect condition. But there was more. At the back of the folder was a small envelope addressed to Ethan. My hand shook as I tore it open. Ethan, it read in her familiar handwriting, "If you are reading this, then something has gone wrong. I no longer trust Ryan or Margaret. They have been pressuring me for months. Keep this will safe." My throat went dry. Lorraine had known something was coming. Then I heard the crunch of tires on gravel. Melissa's eyes went wide. He's back. I stuffed the will into my coat pocket, closed the briefcase, and we bolted for the back door just as the front one creaked open. We made it to the van and sped off, my heart slamming in my chest. I had the real will, but if Ryan realised it was missing, he'd know exactly who had taken it. The next morning, I sat in my cramped apartment in South Philly, the real will folded carefully on the kitchen table. The early sunlight filtered through the blinds, casting stripes across the yellowed paper. I had to figure out my next move, but first, I needed more proof of Ryan's betrayal, something solid enough to convince even the coldest judge. That's when I got a call from an unknown number. "Ethan Walsh?" the woman's voice asked. "This is Detective Harris from the Philadelphia Police Department." My heart sank. "Is this about the Walsh estate?" She sighed. "We've been investigating Ryan Walsh for financial fraud. Several complaints have come in about forged documents, embezzlement, even coercion of elderly relatives. Your aunt's name came up." I felt my hands tremble. "You don't need to say anything right now, but if you have any documents or evidence related to the will, it could help." After I hung up, my phone buzzed again, a text from Margaret. "Meet me at the cafe on 5th and Market at 2 p.m. We need to talk." I didn't want to, but I went. Margaret looked drained, her usual pause replaced by nervous energy. "Ethan, I didn't want it to come to this," she said quietly. "Ryan threatened me if I didn't cooperate. He's been draining Aunt Lorraine's accounts for months." I leaned forward. "Why didn't you stop him?" Tears welled up. "Because he said if I did, he'd ruin everyone, including you." I shook my head in disbelief. "You mean the family?" She nodded. "You have the will, right?" I hesitated, then pulled it from my bag. Margaret's eyes widened. "This changes everything, but you need to be careful. Ryan has people watching him, and if he suspects you have this, he'll come after you." Just then, the cafe door swung open. Ryan walked in, scanning the room like a predator. He locked eyes with me and smiled thinly. "I think our little family meeting is over." I barely had time to react before he was striding toward the door, but as he left, I caught sight of the man standing behind him. Someone I hadn't seen before, and someone whose face chilled me to the bone. A shadow from my past was back, and this time, it wasn't just family drama anymore. That shadow behind Ryan wasn't just some stranger. My breath caught when I recognized him, Mark Jensen, a private investigator I'd hired years ago to look into a messy business deal. He had a reputation for digging up debt, no questions asked. Ryan must have brought Mark in to keep tabs on me. My heart hammered. I realized this wasn't just about the will anymore. Ryan was playing a bigger game. That evening, I met with Melissa and Margaret at my apartment. The three of us pored over the papers in the briefcase, planning our next move. "Ryan's been cooking the books for months," Margaret whispered, her fingers trembling. I found bank statements in Lorraine's room showing over $150,000 missing. Melissa added, "If we leak this to the police, Ryan's done for, but we need airtight evidence." I nodded, feeling the weight of it all. "And if he finds out I have the real will, then he'll come after you," Margaret said flatly. Over the next few days, I noticed strange things. My phone buzzed with unknown calls. Someone tried to break into my apartment, leaving a shattered window, but nothing stolen. One night, as I was leaving a cafe on Broad Street, a black SUV pulled up beside me. The window rolled down and a deep voice warned, "It brought the papers, Ethan. This isn't worth your life." But I wasn't backing down. I decided to confront Ryan directly. I found him at his sleek downtown condo, glass walls overlooking the city, expensive whiskey on the counter. "Why, Ryan?" I asked. "Why betray your own family?" He smirked, pouring a drink. "Because I'm smarter, because I'm the one who got to Aunt Lorraine before you did." I slammed the briefcase on the table. "You forged her will, stole her money, threatened our family. You're finished." He laughed. "You don't have proof. You have a piece of paper." I looked him dead in the eye. "You forgot one thing. I have Margaret's testimony, the bank records, and Detective Harris is already on your trail." Ryan's face darkened. "You think you win?" Before I could react, his phone rang. He answered. "Yes, she's in custody." Then he looked at me coldly. Your friend Melissa was arrested this morning, possession of stolen property. My stomach dropped. Melissa had taken a huge risk helping me, and now she was paying for it. Melissa's arrest hit me like a punch to the gut. She was the one who risked everything to get me that will, and now she was rotting in a jail cell because of me. I couldn't just sit there. That night, I called her from a payphone near the station, trying to keep my voice steady. Melissa, hang on, I'm going to get you out of this. Her voice was rough but fierce. Ethan, you have to be careful. Ryan's not just messing with wills, he's got powerful friends. I saw files on his computer, offshore accounts, fake businesses, bribes, he's a damn criminal kingpin. My mind raced. The money missing from Aunt Lorraine's accounts was just the tip of the iceberg. This was bigger than family drama. I went to see Margaret again, hoping she could help. But she looked worse, the weight of guilt heavy in her eyes. You dragged me into this, she said bitterly. Ryan's threatened my life if I say another word. I grabbed her hands. We can't let him win, not after everything. That's when my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Meet me at the old pier at midnight. Alone. Come if you want the truth. I debated for a long minute. But I knew I had no choice. At midnight, the pier was deserted, the cold wind stinging my face. A figure stepped out of the shadows, and not Ryan, but someone else. Ethan, the man said quietly. I'm James, Ryan's former accountant. He handed me a USB drive. Everything you need to bring him down is here, but they know I gave it to you. You're on your own now. Before I could ask anything else, headlights flashed, and a black car sped away into the night. I was left alone, clutching a USB drive that might destroy my family or get me killed. That night, I sat in my dim apartment, the USB drive plugged into my laptop. My fingers trembled as I scrolled through folders packed with spreadsheets, bank transfers, fake company registrations, all pointing to Ryan's elaborate fraud scheme. I knew I had what the police needed to put him away for decades. But it wasn't just about justice anymore. It was personal. The next morning, I called Detective Harris. I have evidence, solid proof of Ryan Walsh's crimes. Where do we meet? She arranged a discreet meeting at a quiet diner near City Hall. When I arrived, Margaret was already there, looking pale but determined. I'm done hiding, she said. Ryan can't threaten me anymore. Detective Harris nodded, reviewing the files I'd sent over the night before. This is enough to arrest him and freeze his assets. Just then, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You think you've won? Check the news. I flipped open my laptop. My blood ran cold. The front page of the Philadelphia Tribune blasted the headline. Ethan Walsh arrested for embezzlement and theft, investigation underway. I stared, stunned. Ryan had flipped the script. Somehow, he planted false evidence against me. Within hours, the police came to my door. They cuffed me without a word. Sitting in the interrogation room, I replayed everything of the betrayal, the fight for the will, Melissa's arrest, James's warning. Then a knock. Detective Harris entered, her face grim. We found new evidence. Ethan, Ryan's trying to frame you, but there's a witness willing to testify. My heart soared when Melissa was released, cleared of all charges after the truth came out. The trial was brutal. Ryan's web of lies unraveled piece by piece. Margaret testified against him, revealing years of manipulation and threats. In the end, Ryan was sentenced to 15 years for fraud and coercion. The real will was upheld, and I inherited the house, my aunt's legacy, finally safe. Standing in the sunlight on Walnut Street, the old house creaking beneath me, I felt something I hadn't in months. Peace. Family can be poison. But sometimes justice is the antidote.